Hey guys, what's up? It's Quentin here, and I have a very much so requested little guide for you guys. It's a jungle Nunu guide. I've been getting a lot of requests for it because he's one of my main junglers. I think I'm like 16-1 with him in ranked. Pretty decent score there, and also that includes a 4v5 which I won. So I thought I'd put this together. I'm not a high-elo player, but I feel like this is one of my strongest junglers, and it might give some of you low guys a little bit of a fun champion to play, as well as maybe something that can win you some games. So take a look. Okay, for runes, you're going to want the movement speed quints, attack speed reds, armor yellows, and magic resist blues. Reason you want attack speed is because your jungle is really slow. This helps it out a little bit, gets you the 5 stacks to your passive, which allows you to cast some spells a lot earlier. Movement speed because you want to be getting everywhere faster. You're going to be counter jungling, you're going to be ganking a lot. You want to be able to get into lanes and get out. You want to be able to get into the enemy's jungle really fast and get out of that as fast as possible. Let's move on to masteries. Now for masteries, it's pretty standard for any kind of AP magic user. You're going to be wanting to rock 0-21-9. Some people might go 0-9-21, but I think that you really like that extra tankiness. It gives you just some more innate tankiness. I believe Nunu has one of the highest base health increases, so the later you get in the game, the more tanky you are, the happier you're going to be, especially when ganking, because as you'll see, I like to get really aggressive and do a lot of weird tower diving moves, because Nunu is really awesome at chasing people down. So let's get into some actual tips for the jungle. Never mind, I lied. Let's get into some actual items that you're going to want to be getting. So early on, you're going to be starting out with boots and 3 pots, but by about your second back, you're going to want to have a philosopher's stone and a heart of gold. In total, that's about 16-25 gold if you're not buying any wards in between, so it can be achieved pretty fast if you're ganking or counter jungling quite effectively. As we start getting into the mid game, we're going to be finishing our boots and getting one support item. I feel like getting that one support item is very key, at least in this kind of phase where it's going to actually have a nice impact. So getting that Aegis, or in the second set, getting the Shirelias, I think are really excellent choices. If you are going the Shirelias route, I definitely suggest going ahead and getting yourself an Oracles to go along with that. I think that Oracles is just a really good item on Nunu, because you're everywhere, you're so fast. But once you get that Shirelias, I think it's like one of those items that you better be buying, because if you're not, you're making a huge mistake. This next set of items, the Chain Vest and the Negatron Cloak, I think are good choices if you're not really able to do too much. If your opponents are really good with warding, or if they have been kind of shutting you down in the jungle, I think going these two will give you a little bit more tankiness while still enabling you to gank and also building up to your late game items. Now some of you might be saying, whoa, what the heck? Ionic Spark, are you crazy? Well, I think this item really works on Nunu because Nunu is a very slow, kind of just auto-attack jungler. Junglers like Shyvana or Mundo or a lot of other junglers are a lot faster at clearing, even though Nunu does have his little munch. Getting that Ionic Spark, if you are maybe not in the comfortable phase where you can be like, oh, I'm gonna go in and tower dive, you know, I gotta be aggressive. Getting the Ionic Spark helps you clear your jungle faster and maybe helps you get into theirs a little bit faster. I think it is one of those choices that it's something fun you can go for. Now, taking a look at the very end game items, we have a couple different choices for what we want to go for here. I think Shirelias and Randuins are very important on Nunu. Abyssal Scepter also makes him quite strong and gives him a little bit more team fight potential, especially if you're running something like double AP, or even if you're just running a single AP. Because you are AP yourself, it adds more to you, as well as adds more to your allies, and gives you a little bit more of that ability power tankiness. Guardian's Angel, I think, is just an endgame item you should have on every champion, even if you're playing support, even if you're playing AD carry, even if you're playing AP mid, even playing top. I think you should have Guardian's Angel in your endgame kit. Now I left the last slot open because there are a couple different ways you can go with it. If the enemy team is really owning you with their AD carry and whatnot, get yourself a Frozen Heart or something like that. Something that adds a lot of armor, or even if they're focusing you with their AD, get yourself a Thornmail. You know, you just want to be taking down your opponent's strength. So maybe if they're going a lot of AP, you can go something like go for Banshee's Veil or something like that. You just want to be building against your opponent to shut them down. Alrighty guys, now when you're starting out early in the jungle, you are going to want to go wolves and then blue. I think it is just the prime starting for any kind of blue jungler, and it also opens you up to some more early counter jungling. So what you're going to want to do is start out with your Q and attack the big golem once and then Q him, or Q him and then attack him once. Your Q does 500 damage, he starts with like 525 health. One auto attack is really all you need to really finish that off. And then have a little bit of help with these tiny wolves, because your auto attack speed, as I've tried to say before, is pretty damn shit. Now the same thing goes for golem. You're going to want to bite down on that sucker as fast as possible. Have some more help with that. The more help you get, the faster you're able to get into the enemy's jungle. Now, from here you have a couple different choices if you are really, it kind of depends on which side you're on. Right now, we're on the red side. So I really like to take a certain route where we head down through this river here. I hope you're following my mouse. Head over to the side, head around the back of the red, and then take the red. That is something I'm only going to do when I am pretty darn sure that the opponent is starting blue. And at this point, I think I am. Darius, he didn't seem like that great of a player, so I figured he would want to start the safe way, and it seemed like everyone was hanging out in this area. Some other champions, for example, Maokai or Nocturne, or there's a couple others. You can be pretty sure they're going to start that blue buff. But others, you know, they can kind of go either way, so just try and make sure beforehand. But really, I like this little path that you're about to see. We're going to go into some fast mode here. I run around this back, and I'm going to show you something. So right there, what you saw was me ice blasting the big duder, the lizard. I want to pull him over here, so if they decide to try and come and gank me or get the red, I have an easy way out, and I also can kind of get out of there. Now, as you can see, I have a very clear and open way to get into the enemy. I come in from his own jungle. I'm super fast because of my blood boil. I can get, actually I don't have blood boil at this point. I usually do. I might kill another wraith or something like that to get that blood boil. But usually you come in from behind and you have red and blue buff, and you can just pound into enemies. If you're going for the early kill in mid, you can definitely get that happen. I could have just as easily came down through here, through their tri-bush, and gotten behind them, and as you can see, it looks like we have a little bit of a kill going on. I could have gotten behind them, gotten a kill for bot lane, or maybe even two, but I decided to go middle because I like to kill Gragas. He's my favorite champion, and I am his favorite killer, I guess. Now, after I've stolen the enemy's red, I want to take mine decently fast, after I've already shown myself somewhere, because I don't want the enemy to have the possibility of being able to come in and get me. As you can see in the top lane, we have a lot of aggression going on. Darius is constantly coming up here trying to get some kills. I see that he backs off, so now we're going to go in, and here you just see the chasing power. I snowball, and that slows him down by 20%, I believe. And then I auto-attack him with the red buff, and that slows him down even more. And because I have my blood boil, I can allow Jax to keep up with him, and we just keep going in. And it's the same thing in mid lane. Even though he has all that movement speed and whatnot in the body slam, he still is getting wrecked because of my constant slows. I think this is just what makes Nunu like such a great counter jungler and ganker. Even though he doesn't have a stun or anything, like, as long as you gank correctly and your opponents really aren't playing well, you can just demolish them. I mean, obviously, if your opponents are playing well and you're playing well, you can still do well versus them. But I think at lower ELOs, especially the ELOs that I'm playing at, which is about 1300 to 1400, maybe like 1350 to 1450, I find that people just aren't as careful with their wards, so I'm able to have a lot of fun. Now, I think I'm about to go back to go and buy one of my first GP5s. But before I do that, I just want to go in and steal some more creeps. Using an auto attacker 2 and your Q early on will definitely be able to net you the big wraith in your opponent's jungle. It can also do the same thing at wolves if you're planning to invade there. You just really have to be conscious of that. One thing I forgot to point out that I totally should, my chair's squeaking, is that your passive is every 5 auto attacks, you gain a free spell. And you'll find this becomes really important with your Ice Blast, because your Ice Blast requires a huge amount of mana. It is almost ridiculous. But really, I think I've covered a lot of stuff about the early game. So let's get into maybe the mid game. Alrighty, I think we're somewhat into the mid game now. I've just finished my second GP5, my boots too, and I've gotten myself an Oracles. I feel that at this point I have a lot of map presence. I'm able to really get around easily because Darius has been kind of getting shut down by me. I've been making sure to jump around everywhere, get rid of his jungle as often as possible, really. And I haven't really taken a red in a while, but I have taken his rates. And I think that's really important. You got to keep forcing your opponent to be behind, because if they're starting to play from ahead, or they're starting to catch up, you're not really having a good time, especially against someone like a Darius. So as you can see, I'm coming in for a gank here. The really big negative thing about this is that Tarek has actually been MIA, and Darius is already here. Now, I make a little bit of a mistake, and I use my ultimate. That was mostly because I just wanted to make sure that I could do something, you know? Though with... I thought that Tarek was here. I didn't really notice that he left. Though, with Tarek gone, I really should have just kept running. And you can as Nunu. But my main part there was clearing that Dragon Ward, making sure that there was no ward in the Tri-Bush, just trying to clear some wards, maybe going for a gank. That's really kind of what you want to be doing. You just want to be clearing wards, going in for ganks, a little bit of counter jungling, not too much though. Blue buff is now back up. I'm really happy about that. I love to have blue buff as Nunu. Obviously, if I have a mana dependent mid lane, I will give it up for them. Anything past my first one. My first one I kinda need though. But yeah, these couple, you know, afterwards, I'll totally give them up 100% because I do have that passive, which really can supplement that that bonus or that lack of mana gain. One route you can also go, I think I didn't really mention it in the item build talk thingamajig, is you can go for a early catalyst into Rod of Ages. I just don't like that anymore. I don't feel like it's strong enough, and it really doesn't suit the current Nunu. Like, you don't need to be doing a lot of damage as Nunu. You just need to be annoying people. If it's lane Nunu, I can totally understand doing that, going like the, let's say, going for Rod of Ages and then like a Will of Ancients and something like that. Getting some more damage, pushing your opponents out of lane. But as kind of support counter jungle Nunu, I like getting those support-based items, and you're going to see me get a Shurelya's right here, I believe. I think Shurelya's is an excellent choice. I talked about it. But I think the main reason I want it in this game is because we are ahead right now. And if we can make sure to be very mobile, we're going to have a good time. I don't know why I'm waiting for so long. I guess I just decide not to go for Shurelya's. I don't know. Either way, I do plan to go for Shurelya's because I feel like Shurelya's is just an excellent choice when you're ahead. It allows you to chase easier, engage easier, get all up in your opponent's face easier. You know, just really start something there. So let's talk about a little bit of a team fight here. So as we see, we have 4 enemies versus actually 5 of us. Jax is here. Wait, is it 4 enemies? Yeah. Okay, that looks a lot like not Jax. That looks like Darius. 4 enemies versus 5 of us. This is going to be very bad for them. But the main targets in this fight for me, I want to be ice blasting Mr. Corky or whoever their AD carry is. That sound is really annoying. I want to be ice blasting Corky. Let's slow it down a little bit. Ice blast after we get all our CC on him, even though he does little garbage or whatever and we get pushed away. I want to be ice blasting Corky and using my blood boil on pretty much exclusively on our AD carry, unless we have like our Jax here and he's coming in. I might use it on him depending on where the AD carry is, but really using my ice blast whenever it's up. If I see like 2 or 3 enemies on me or around me kind of grouped up, I'm gonna be dropping my ultimate. I want to make sure that I can really do something there. But blood boiling my AD carries and ice blasting the opponents If I'm not doing that, I'm not doing my job, because Nunu is just such an excellent enemy kind of like downsizer and ally thumbs upper. I don't even know what the fuck I'm trying to say right now. He just works really well. I don't know why I'm still in this super slow mode. He works really well in buffing your allies and debuffing your enemies. There we go. Maybe nerfing your enemies. There we go. So really that's what I want to be doing. He is a pretty great zoner later, I think, because if an AD carry tries to come up on you, you can start slapping him in the face and it will hurt, because you will have your Ice Blast, you'll be able to slow him down, your auto attacks will get sped up, and if worse comes to worse, you can use your ultimate, force them to get out of your range, because otherwise they're going to take a lot of damage. Okay guys, so just looking at my items now, oh my god, my voice cracked. Looking at my items now, you see I'm starting to build up to a Randuin's Omen, and that is for a very specific purpose, and that is because they are running triple AD, Corki, Darius, Lee Sin. I really want to be able to shut all of those guys down, and I think Randuin's is just one of those perfect items for that. You also might say go for Frozen Heart or something, but I feel like building out of something that you already have, in this example, my Heart of Gold, is really important. If I'm not building out of my Heart of Gold, it's kind of a waste of an item for a little while, you know? I just want to be building out of that so that I can kind of keep some cohesiveness going with my item build. If I wasn't planning on building a Randuin's Omen at any point, then I just wouldn't build a Heart of Gold. I might go for like a Cage's Lucky Pick. But I feel like really strongly that Randuin's Omen is just a ridiculous item to get. I think the game is getting pretty close to the end, actually. After they see us get this Baron, they're going to... well, actually, we don't get Baron now. After they see us get Baron, they're going to quit. But I feel like I've covered some of the pretty basic stuff that most people should know when trying to play Nunu. Really what it comes down to, early game, you're going to want to get